Okay, everyone, we're going to get started. Public portion of the meeting is called to order. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the business administrator, board secretary has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, communicated to the Herald News, the Record, and filed with the clerk of the Borough of Hawthorne. Roll call, please.
Mr. Carr,
Here.
Mr. Clavijo,
Here.
Ms. Goff,
Here.
Mr. Palouse,
Here.
Mr. Reicher,
Here.
Ms. Sanford,
Here.
Ms. Sanford,
Here.
Mr. Totaro,
Here.
Mr. Turco,
Here.
Mr. Doyle.
Here. Okay, would everyone please stand and join me for the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
All right, meeting regulations. During each regular meeting, 2 opportunities are provided for citizens to ask questions and to make comments. During the first opportunity, early on the agenda, the meeting is open to the public for the purpose of addressing items listed for approval on this agenda only. The second opportunity occurs just prior to adjournment, when citizens may address any subject matter that is pertinent to and/or directly related to the operation of the school district. If you wish to make a comment or ask a question during the public portion of this meeting, you may submit the question by accessing the Q&A feature on the bottom of the Zoom screen, or you may submit a question via our Board of Education email address at hawthorne.boe@hawthorne.k12.nj.us, which is available on our district website. When submitting questions via Zoom or email, please be sure to include your first and last name, your address, and email address followed by your question. We will do our very best to answer all your questions in the order in which they are received. If for some reason we are unable to answer your question, someone from the district will respond using the email address you've provided. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Please note that the board will not respond to comments regarding students or board employees in light of the privacy rights held by those individuals. Moreover, the board discourages comments about such individuals and will not be responsible for such comments. Members of the public who choose to speak during the public session should carefully consider their comments, since they could be personally liable for any statements they make. Finally, please note that in accordance with district policy, the board will not officially comment or respond to any matter mentioned unless it can confirm that the matter has first been brought to the attention of the appropriate school personnel in an attempt to resolve the issue. All right, that being said, we are going to move right into public be heard, agenda items only. All right, I do not see any questions pending in our Q&A box. Mr. Spirito, do we have any emails on file?
No, sir, we do not.
All right, we'll give it just a few more minutes before we move on. All right, I still see no questions in our Q&A box. Mr. Spirito, any emails?
No.
No emails.
Nothing.
All right, we're going to move on from the public be heard portion. We're going to move on to correspondence. I know I have some correspondence, but Mr. Spirito, do you have anything you need to read first? Correspondence?
I do not. Thank you.
Okay. So I have a letter here dated June 8th, 2020, addressed to Mr. Spirito. This letter is being submitted regarding my suspension from my security position with the Hawthorne Public Schools due to a Facebook posting regarding the recent protests and the Black Lives Matter movement. Upon reflection and after some research into the movement, I now realize that my words, though not intended, were hurtful and offensive. Anyone who knows me also knows that I do not and have not lived my life hurting or intending to offend anyone. What I have discovered after some research is an informative article by L. Manny S. Vinny called "Here's Why It Hurts When People Say All Lives Matter." The article explains that Black Lives Matter is not anti-white or anti-police, even though some in the media may have portrayed it that way. Unfortunately, not being informed and simply accepting information without much critical thought created a false impression of Black Lives Matter that led to the Facebook post. For those who may not know, I spent 26 years and 8 months as a police officer in one of the most diverse communities in the state, the city of Paterson, before retiring as a lieutenant. My record as a police officer and as a person is a true reflection of who I am. I ask that I be judged on that record and that the perception of who I am not be influenced by words that I now understand came from being ill-informed. This is who I am. During my career and since retiring, I have continued to give to the Paterson community. I've participated in many fundraisers that raised money to sponsor sports teams and funded Disney trips each summer for up to 150 Paterson children per year. When assigned to incidents of shoplifting, if turned out to be someone shoplifting just so they could feed their family, I would smooth things over with the store owner and pay for the items myself so the person could avoid arrest. If I learned of families that had no food in the house, I would go to the supermarkets and fill their cupboard with the staples needed for their family. Every year prior to school beginning, I donate school supplies and backpacks for Paterson students. Every year I donate to the Paterson PBA Shoe and Coat Drive, which provides shoes and coats to the children throughout Paterson. I attend numerous functions where all money is collected or forwarded to Eva's Village to feed the homeless. Every winter I donate at least $400 worth of toys to the Paterson Police Holiday Toy Drive and play Santa to give toys to up to 1,700 children. I'm also the Santa at the Hawthorne Parade, the Hawthorne Boy Scouts, New Hope Homeless Shelter, Jefferson School, Patterson PBA, North Haledon Fire Department, just to name a few. Finally, I have been employed by the Hawthorne Public School District since September 2016, and I have never been the subject of any disciplinary actions. I volunteer to work every school activity. I support every school fundraiser that I am made aware of, and I routinely purchase lunches for students who have no money. I would do anything for our students, including protecting them with my life, regardless of their race, color, religion, creed, or sexual orientation. I have always considered myself a good person, willing to help anyone. I believe most who know me know this to be true. I recognize that no one is perfect, but I do believe I am a better person having had to face and understand the consequences of words that were ill-informed, regrettable, and offensive. Moreover, while I have been labeled a racist, I and many who know me or have been a benefactor of my actions to help all people know that I have never personally disrespected, discriminated against, or intentionally hurt anyone. All I ask that, again, I be judged on my record and my years of dedication to my community and to the students, teachers, and staff within the Hawthorne School District, and not on 26 words in a Facebook post. Respectfully submitted, Scott Verone. All right, that concludes correspondence that I have to submit. We are going to move on to Mr. Sprito's superintendent report.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. I have a number of things that I want to go through. Some updates and then some new initiatives that we're looking to move forward with in the district. First, I just want to thank everyone who's involved in the virtual graduation events that we held last week. We had a large number of people viewing those events. We were around 1,000 views for both the middle school and the high school virtual graduation ceremonies. I want to thank everybody who was part of putting those together. I know a lot of hard work went into creating those. And I just, again, want to appreciate all the work that went into it, all the people who participated. And I want to congratulate our middle school and high school students. We are still planning to host our in-person ceremonies at Hawthorne High School. The high school graduation will be Monday, July 13th at 7 p.m. and the Lincoln Middle School on Monday, July 20th at 7 p.m. And as I've shared with the parents in my weekly updates, we will communicate specifics about those events in terms of arrival, lineup, all of that information will be forthcoming. So please just be patient with us as we finalize those details and we'll get them out to parents. Also, due to those events, I will be sending out a letter and I'll be asking the town to send out a nixle that we'll be closing our track and really the whole facility while we practice and while the field is set up for the in-person ceremony. So we'll be communicating that. I'll be sending something out next week to our parents. And again, I'm going to ask the Hawthorne Police Department to send out a nixle for me, just to let people know. And we do this every year. Normally around graduation, we typically close that facility so people aren't down there moving. You know, we have a lot of setup down there of equipment and things. So we'll be doing that as well. And that'll be closed from the setup will be on Friday, July 10th. We'll be closing the facility on Saturday, July 11th. And it'll be closed through the middle school graduation on the 20th. All right, so that's the plan right now. And again, you know, we'll have chairs on the field, we'll have our podium, other things that will be set up. We'll also be marking the bleachers to socially distance our parents. So there'll be a lot of setup down there, and that's why we're closing that facility. In regard to the other summer events, the prom and the 8th grade dance, you know, we still haven't made a final decision. We're, you know, unfortunately with the guidance that's currently in place, it's going to be very difficult to host those events, but we're still waiting to see if things do change. We will be communicating our decision at some point next week because we have to let the venue, our DJs, our photo booth, all the people who are involved, they need to know by July 1 what our decision is on those events. So we'll be communicating that once again to our parents as soon as we can. And again, we'd love to host them. We really would, but we have to wait and see what the guidance will allow for. The other thing that recently came out was the new guidance from the NJSIAA in regard to fall sports. There's a new return to play guidelines. Phase 1 of the return to play guidelines were shared with school districts and with athletic directors. Those guidelines run from July 13th to July 26th. I'm not going to go through all the guidelines. It's a long document. What I will tell you is it significantly limits what we are able to do. I mean, I can tell you that there's daily screenings that have to take place, daily temperature screenings, and also they have to fill out a screening questionnaire every single day. We also, the workout times are limited to 90 minutes. There's only a limit of 10 people that can participate at one time. There can be no sharing of equipment of any kind and no contact of any kind. So it's very much limited to things like, cardio workouts, but there's not much conditioning, skill sets, sports specific, non-contact drills. That's the way they define it here. So it really limits what we're able to do in these fall sports. Originally, we had planned to approve our coaches for the fall season at this meeting, but due to these new guidelines and some concerns that have been shared by the NJIC, which is the league that we participate in, we've decided to hold on our coaching approvals until our July meeting. And I know that the principals and athletic directors from the NJIC are planning to meet to talk about their concerns with this process. The other piece for us that's a little bit of a challenge is we don't currently have a trainer on staff at this point. We are interviewing for a trainer, but we don't have one at this particular time. So, in order to really do anything without a trainer is another concern that we have as a school district. So what we're planning to do is we're going to continue to have conversation. Mr. DeMayo, our interim principal, Mr. Mazzaka, they'll talk with the other ADs and principals from the NJIC, as well as communicate with the NJSIAA. We'll continue to look for a trainer, and hopefully in July, we'll have a little bit more guidance and we'll be able to approve our coaches for what they are able to do for the fall season, but really limited with this new guidance on what can happen and what's allowed. There's no indoor practices of any kind allowed. So even if our volleyball team wanted to practice, they would have to practice outdoors somewhere. So again, really limits our options going forward. So that information, by the way, if anybody wants to see those guidelines and read through them, they are on our district website, on our COVID page. All of those communications that I send every week, I did post those phase 1 guidelines on that page. So if any parent or any community member wants to view them, they are there for you to view. Okay. I do want to share some good news. We are excited to say that the referendum projects are moving forward. I've shared some pictures with the board in our Board of Ed folder that we've shared. I will be updating the website in the coming days with some of these pictures that we have to this point, which show a lot of the construction that's happening. As you know, right now in the high school, they're working on the culinary room, the STEM and physics classrooms at the high school. They're really moving forward on those. We finalized some of the details in terms of the colors and furniture, and all that stuff has been finalized. So we're really excited about that. At the middle school, as you know, we're working on the media center, our 2 science labs, and the boiler replacement at the middle school. Once again, all of that work is well underway. We're again finalized. We just met, Mrs. Dever and I met with the architect at the end of last week to finalize all of the colors and furniture and all the design and everything that goes into that room, as well as the science labs. At Jefferson, they'll be beginning the lower roof, that entire lower roof section that we've talked about. And of course, the section of roof at Roosevelt over the gym and the boiler replacement at Roosevelt. So everything is moving along. I'm happy to report. And I'm going to be working on our webpage to get some of those current pictures updated, and we'll continue to add to those as we move forward. The other thing I'll be happy to share is that our one-to-one initiative, all of our Chromebooks have arrived, as well as our teacher devices. So our tech staff is working hard to get those ready for our students. We are still waiting for the cases. Every student in grades 6 through 12 will get a device and a case. So we're waiting on those cases. And we'll be communicating the return of the Chromebooks that our current 6th through 12th graders have. We'll be coordinating that with the pickup of their new device. So we're going to ask them to return the old one. We'll give them their new one with their case. So really exciting stuff. Really excited to roll out this new one-to-one initiative for our district. It's a huge upgrade and an exciting time for the Hawthorne Public Schools. The other thing I want to share with the community is that on Monday, July 6th, our staff will be returning to our offices, not only here at the board office, but all of our schools. However, Parents should know that we are going to limit access to the buildings. We're going to still continue to do as much remotely as possible. So if you're looking for information or you need something from the school, I would ask that you please contact the school first, and they will either set up an appointment to get you that information, or they will try to send it to you electronically wherever possible. So although people will be returning, again, we're going to control, access to those buildings moving forward. All right. Two other items that I think are important. One of the things that we're required to do each year is update the board in our community on our harassment, intimidation, and bullying self-assessment. All right. So during the months of August and September, the administrators and school safety teams in each building, they complete a comprehensive self-assessment of building programs, initiatives, and procedures. And they go through, there's 8 core elements that they go through, and they have to rate those 8 core elements. And those 8 core elements are HIB programs, approaches, and other initiatives, training on the BOE approved HIB policy, other staff instruction and training programs, curriculum and instruction on HIB and related information and skills, HIB personnel, school level HIB incidents reporting procedures, our investigation procedures, and our overall HIB reporting. And as they go through those, as the school safety teams go through those core elements and the forms that they fill out, they have to rank the areas from 0 to 5, 0 to 3. 0 meaning does not meet requirements, 1 meaning partially meets, 2 meeting the requirements, and a 3 exceeding the requirements. And based on that scoring sheet, we get scores for each of our schools. And I can tell you that all 5 of our schools scored above the 50 points required to meet all state requirements in this area. I can tell you that the elementary schools, Jefferson has scored a 68, Roosevelt also a 68, Washington a 69, Lincoln a 71, and the high school a 57. Again, all above or well above, in some cases, that 50-point requirement. The other thing I will tell you that our district scores have gone up the last 3 years. We had 61 2 years ago, 65 last year, and an overall score for the district of 67 this year. So we're moving in the right direction and improving on those areas for the district. So I'm really proud of that. Going forward, we'll continue training for our students and staff. We're going to be increasing communication, training, and support and guidance for our school anti-bullying specialists and our school safety teams in all of our schools. And finally, we're going to be providing some increased sensitivity training to students and staff, specifically related to diversity and inclusion. So again, really happy about where we're headed on that. A lot of some positive news in regard to our HIB incidents. And I can tell you overall that our HIB incidents are down overall. And the last item that I just want to share is a new initiative in regard to something happening in the district. So I'm going to share, I'd like to read something quickly. And I'll start. Just one of the many reasons that I love the town of Hawthorne and have spent my life here is that in the face of a challenge or a problem, this town always comes together to find a solution. And I also believe that after 27 years in education, that I strongly believe in and understand the importance of education, and that in order to truly affect any change in your school district, it has to start with education. And as the superintendent of the Hawthorne Public Schools, one of our ongoing district goals is to advance the work of inclusivity and equity throughout our district, which is why I'm happy to share that beginning this July, we are establishing a new a diversity alliance committee. And the initial focus of this committee will be on how we can better educate ourselves, our students, and our community on the mutual benefits of all races, religions, and cultures, and accepting, respecting, and learning from one another. Over the past couple of weeks, the district and I, the district administrative team and I have begun working on a framework to implement change in our district. And we call it a framework because we don't believe that it's best to develop a plan in isolation. We believe it's best to develop a plan including stakeholders throughout our district and input from those stakeholders throughout our district. So we've begun gathering input. And I say that because we've already administratively, we've attended some webinars, looking at information or gathering information from groups like the New Jersey Administrators and Supervisors Association, and looking at best practices and suggestions from groups such as NJ ASA and NJPSA. I have also begun reaching out to some of the stakeholders in our community to begin forming this new committee. To date, I am happy to share that we have parents and community members who've committed to participating on this committee. We have administrators, one from every level, who have committed to participating. I have a commitment from the Hawthorne Police Department to have a member of the Hawthorne Police Department to serve in this committee as well, because they do work in our schools with our students, not only in the ROAR program, but in other programs throughout the grades. And of course, we're going to try to include some of our former students on this committee. I've been reaching out to some of those former students and will continue to do so in hopes to have some of those students participate in what I consider to be an important forward. Finally, once we return to school, we'll be meeting, gathering input from our current students. We're going to be forming committees in each of our schools and allowing for student input from our current students in the district. And I'll just end by saying we're excited about this new initiative. We look forward to sharing the work of this committee as we collaborate to enhance our current curriculum, training, and programming. And at the end of the day, our goal with this committee is to build a coalition to develop and adopt a model to implement change right here in Hawthorne. And with that said, I will conclude my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Spirito. Very exciting news. So glad to hear the creation of the Diversity Alliance Committee. Very exciting. I don't usually like to speak for the entire board, but I think here I can honestly say everyone is excited and going to be very proud to be part of this new initiative. All right, we're going to be moving on. We're going to move on to curriculum and instruction. Abby, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to the recommendation of the superintendent of school, the Committee on Curriculum and Instruction recommends the following resolutions. CI 1 on page 3, CI 2 through CI 7 on page 4, CI 8 on page 5, and CI 26 on page 11 of the addendum. On behalf of the TI, so moved.
Second.
All right, we have a second by Mr. Palouse. Do we have any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Clavijo,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes, I don't know if you heard.
Thank you.
All right, Abby, we're going right back to you for personnel, please.
Sure. The following resolutions are pursuant to the recommendation of the superintendent of schools. P9 through P15 on page 5, P16 through P18 on page 6, P19 through P22 on page 7, and P27 through P30 on page 11 of the addendum. On behalf of the committee.
Second.
Okay, we have a second by Mr. Clavijo. We have any discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Palouse,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Carr, Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes. Okay, Mr. Palouse, take us through claims, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. In accordance with NJAC 6A:23-2:11B, C, 3, and C4, I reviewed the bills. Everything seemed to be in order, and I am making a motion to pay the bills for the month of June.
Second.
All right, we have a second by Mr. Clavijo. We have any discussion on the bills? All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Palouche,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes. All right, Anthony, right back to you for buildings and grounds, please.
Thank you. Pursuant to the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Committee on Buildings and Grounds recommends the following resolutions: BG 24 and BG 25 on page 8. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
All right, we have a second by Mr. Tataro. We have any discussion?
Just
All
to
right, roll call. Oh, I'm sorry.
add one quick thing, just so you're aware, obviously, I'm sure you are. The BG 24 is for the new alternative program, our current Bear Cave, and BG 25 is for the new Bear Cave, just the approvals for those programs. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Sprito. Do we have any other discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Palouche,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes. Okay, committee and liaison reports. None of our committees have met since the last meeting, which was only 2 short weeks ago, so we have nothing to report under committees. We are going to move right on to the public be heard, the second portion of public be heard. And I'm just going to read something here. As a reminder, when submitting questions or comments via Zoom or email, please be sure to include your first and last name, address, and email address, followed by your question. Thank you very much for that. Questions will be answered in the order in which they are received. And at the moment, I do not see any questions in the Q&A box. Mr. Sprito, have we received any emails?
No, we have not.
No emails just yet. Okay. We'll give it a little more time. All right, I still see no questions in the Q&A box. Mr. Sprito, once again, do we have any emails?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay. All right, we are going to conclude the public be heard portion, and we are going to move on to old business. I'm going to start with Mr. Joe Carr. Any old business?
No, Mr. President.
Okay, Ms. Goff, any old business?
No, sir.
Marco, old business?
No, sir.
Bruce, any old business?
Nope.
Anthony?
Not tonight.
Lou, any old business?
Nothing, sir.
Tanya, any old business?
No, thank you.
No? Okay. And Alex, anything on the old business?
Yeah, I did. Just wanted to give a shout out to the Roar graduates from this year's 5th grade class. Unfortunately, this was one of those activities that got severely nixed by the COVID crisis. So wearing, my Roar t-shirt in support of them, giving them kudos, and also to all those responsible for running such a great program. All 3 of my kids benefited from it and can attest to the value that it brings. So thank you.
Hey, thanks, Alex. I do have one thing to read under old business. I just want to remind the general public that our general policies and procedures with regards to personnel matters, we do not comment them on that publicly. However, in light of the subject matter that we've entertained over the last 2 weeks, the amount of correspondence we've received from the general public, I'm prepared to read a statement on behalf of the entire board with regards to this matter. Regarding the matter of Mr. Scott Verone, school security guard, The board has taken into account the nature of Mr. Verone's violations of board policies and has imposed consequences that the board determines commensurate with the seriousness of his infractions. Yet take into consideration his apology and expression of remorse, comply with the tenets of progressive discipline, and offer opportunities for reflection and redemption. Mr. Verone shall remain suspended from his position through the summer and pending successful completion of certain requirements, including a professional improvement plan to which he has agreed, shall be restored to his position for the 2020-2021 school year. That's all I have to report under old business. We are going to move right on to new business. It's going to come right back to you, Alex.
Just one thing, I want to commend Mr. Spirito for putting the committee together that he's been working on. It's a lot of work on top of a lot of work that they've been doing as a district, with all the unprecedented challenges that COVID has brought upon us. So thank you, Mr. Spirito, and everybody that's willing to be part of the committee. As a reminder, just want to remind the public that the website has the capabilities of translating anything on the website to various different languages. So you can go to the website and get the information in your whatever language you're most comfortable in. So that's it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Doyle, can I just piggyback on that for 1 second?
100%. Go ahead. Thank you, Alex, too, for bringing that up.
Yeah, and I just want to add that we'll be creating a section on the website with information about this committee, and I thank Mr. Calvillo for bringing it up. It's not there yet, just be patient, but as we begin this process with this committee, we'll be posting information on the website of our initiatives and the things that we've accomplished as we move forward. So thank you for that, and there will be information. I would say at some point in July, there will be that page will be available for community members. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Spirito. Tanya, anything under new business?
No, Mr. President, thank you.
Okay, Lou, anything under new business?
No, sir.
Anthony?
No, thank you.
Bruce, anything under new business?
I give my time to Mr. Carr.
Oh, is that a dig? Is that a little dig for me? Marco, anything under new business?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
How about you, Abby? Anything under new business?
No, thank you.
And the one and only Mr. Joe Carr, anything under new business?
No, I'm good. Thanks, Bruce. I appreciate that. I'm going to give my time to Mike Doyle.
Oh, like a true gentleman. Thank you very much. All right, we are going to move on to general comments and questions from the board related to school district. And guess what? We're going to start with Mr. Carr.
I'm good, Mr. President. Thank you so much.
Okay, Abby, anything?
I'll try, but I've heard my audio is a little bad. Is it okay?
You're better now.
Okay. I just want to say thank you to everyone who orchestrated material pickup today. I went and picked up my fourth graders' materials from Roosevelt, and it was a breeze. I was the only one in line. Tomorrow I'll be picking up Lincoln's. I know that it's an unusual way of doing it, but I truly appreciate everyone who was involved in that, and another testament to how there are so many moving parts in the district and everyone matters. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Abby. Marco, anything under comments?
Just like to thank the administration, faculty, and students for a challenging year, but successful at that. That's all for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Bruce, anything you'd like to say?
Nothing. Thank you.
Anthony, any comments?
No, thank you.
Lou, any comments?
No, sir. Thank you.
Tanya, anything you'd like to say?
I just wanted to thank all the administration and Mr. Spirito and everybody for trying to.
Tanya, I don't want to interrupt you. Can you maybe turn your volume up? You're coming in real low.
Oh, hold on. That better? Is this any better?
Much better.
Okay, sorry about that. I just wanted to thank the administration and Mr. Spirito and all the teachers for making the end of the year process special for the kids. I know it was difficult and, we missed out on a lot of events, but the kids seem happy and excited. And I just wanted to wish everybody a good summer, all the students and the faculty and the staff.
Okay, thank you, Tanya. Alex, anything to share?
Like Ms. Sanford stated, just want to wish everybody a happy summer. thank you to the community for pulling together. It's, again, testament to what kind of community Hawthorne is. So enjoy the summer.
Okay, thank you, Alex. And I'm just going to share the same sentiments as was already represented by my fellow board members. Exact same sentiments. And that being said, I'm going to entertain a motion to move into private session.
Motion.
Second.
All right, seconded by Tanya. Any discussion? All right, Trudy, roll call, please.
Mr. President,
Oh, yes, Steve, I'm sorry.
so we should indicate to the public that the board may return to public session and that action may be taken.
Okay, as our board attorney has just mentioned, we are going to be entering private session and we may take action.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Totara,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Palooz,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes. All right, everyone, remember you need to log off and log back into the second invite. See you there in a few minutes.
Almost done, my love.
All right, looks like everybody's here, and we are now going to resume back into the public portion of the meeting. Okay, so with regards to what we discussed in private, I am going to make a motion that we increase the amount of professional development for the individual's contract from 2,000 to 4,000. Can I get a second?
Second,
Second.
everybody.
Seconded by Mr. Clavijo. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Palooz,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes. All right, I believe we've covered everything, so I'll take a motion to exit the meeting.
Motion adjourn. Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Trudy, roll call, please.
Mr. Carr,
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo,
Yes.
Ms. Goff,
Yes.
Mr. Palooz,
Yes.
Mr. Reicher,
Yes.
Ms. Sanford,
Yes.
Mr. Totaro,
Yes.
Mr. Turco,
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes. All right, meeting's adjourned. Thank you,
Good night,
everybody, as
everybody.
always.
Good night, everybody.
Bye,
everyone.
everybody.
Steve, thank
Good
you
night,
very much.
everybody.
Thanks.
Appreciate all your help, Steve.
My
Thanks,
pleasure.
Steve.
Okay.
Happy Father's Day, everybody. I forgot to say it before. Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
Thank